Ya la PPT. Ya la PPT.
Bueno, arrancamos. Les presento al profesor Pere, Roca y Cabarrocas, que es director de investigación del CNRS, que quiere decir Centro Nacional de Investigación Científica de Francia. Es profesor de la Escuela Politécnica y director científico del IPVF, que es el Instituto Fotovoltaico de Francia. Obtuvo su doctorado en la Universidad de París 7 en 1988 y después hizo un postdoc en la Universidad de Princeton. Luego de eso se incorporó al LPICM, que es el Laboratorio de Física de Interfaces y Películas Delgadas. Entre el 2012 y el 2020 fue director de ese laboratorio y de la Federación Fotovoltaica Francesa. Tiene 30 años de experiencia en el campo de exposición de plasma de películas delgadas a base de silicio y ha utilizado técnicas de diagnóstico para comprender el crecimiento de los materiales y aplicarlos en la producción de dispositivos como células solares y transistores de películas delgadas. Más recientemente aplicó nanocristales de silicio sintetizados por plasma para el crecimiento epitaxial también de películas delgadas de silicio y pozos cuánticos de silicio y germanio. Recibió el premio de la innovación de la Escuela Politécnica en el 2009 y la medalla de plata del CNRS. Tiene más de 500 artículos en revistas arbitradas, 38 patentes y más de 50 estudiantes de doctorado. Y hoy nos va a hablar sobre energía solar fotovoltaica, tendencias generales y desarrollo de células a base de nanohilos conjuntura radial.
Muchas gracias, Sofía, y muchas gracias a todos por haberme dado esta oportunidad. Es mi primera vez en América del Sur. Crucé el Río de la Plata para... Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Un placer estar aquí. He preparado, ver si estoy en 45 minutos, me cortáis cuando queráis. Pienso que el objetivo es discutir un poco. Podría pasarme al día hablando, pero no se trata de esto. Entonces, bueno, vamos ya a atacar el tema. O sea, el tema es energía solar. Me fui a Francia para hacer energía solar. Hace 30 años que no pasaba nada y ahora se embala la cosa y la energía solar empieza a ser una realidad industrial en todo el mundo. Y luego voy a tratar al principio cosas generales y luego vamos a centrarnos en nanohilos de silicio, que es una específica. Should I go to English? For me it will be easier, because no he hecho nunca una conferencia en español. O sea, es un reto para mí.
Maybe.
So you are going to make my life easier. And maybe for everybody, because you're so I will go on with English. So I will focus then on nanowire solar cells. We'll see what is that. So first, 2 words about where I come from. LPICM is Laboratory of Physics of Interfaces and Thin Films, where we go from atoms and molecules to devices and beyond. So what is that? What we do is we have a group on silicon nanomaterials and applications that I have been doing for many years, dealing with plasma processes, thin films of silicon, germanium, carbon, moving to 3,5 materials today, using molecular dynamics, plasma modeling. We have 10 plasma reactors, we have a large equipment, and then we have another group which is nanomaterials and electronic devices, which is more related to carbon materials. We started with carbon nanotubes, moving to graphene, and it's mostly 2D materials, molybdenum sulfide. And then we have another group which is organic electronics. So that's something which started with organic transistors, moving to organic solar cells. Today it's perovskite. Nobody can escape perovskite solar cells. And the last group, and we have seen an example here, it's applied optics and polarimetry. So this is the idea is that we are making materials, and then we have to develop techniques to characterize them. And we have been pioneering the use the ellipsometry. And this was a standard ellipsometry at the beginning. Then we moved towards molar matrices. So we have researchers which are just doing molar matrices. And this can be applied to semiconductors, but also to the biomedical. Cancer detection is the most recent application of this activity. So that's the 70 people, 22 countries, that's the LPICM. École Polytechnique, so it's one of the labs of École Polytechnique. So École Polytechnique founded in 1794 for almost 4,000 students, going from undergraduate to graduate. I'll have the ways up here. So it's one of the top universities in France. Of course, it's the best, but and when you go abroad, not everybody knows École Polytechnique. We have a lot of international students, and we are just south of Paris. So if you never go to Paris, just say hello and stop by. It will be a pleasure to show you around. The three pillars of École Polytechnique: education, research, innovation. It's like here, like everywhere. With a commitment on sustainable development, and that's what we are talking today. Sustainable, and in particular, we're going to talk about solar energy, but that's a part of sustainable development. And then IPVF is the most recent institute on solar energy in France. So Institut Photovoltaique de France. It's started in 2013. So the idea was to bring together two initiatives which were here in the Paris area to make a larger institute to get international vision. And so it's comes from the partnership between the private, no, but between public organisms, École Polytechnique and CNRS, and then private initiative. And private is the two main companies are Total and EDF, but also we have LPICM, River, and Roca. So this is a consortium. They join forces to make this institute. The activities of the institute go from research. Oh, sorry, we're gonna still have to learn about this one. So they go about research, which is develop the next generation of photovoltaic devices. Then we have enable. This is a combine the industry. It's a research, but research towards industry. Our main objective is to develop things which can be transferred at industrial level. And then we also support the industries to offer solutions, and we will creating network, basically that's the United Club. So that's the institute. The research activities, we have 6 programs, and they go from, better use this online, is to assess the technologies, and this is towards industry. I mean, you will see that when we talk about photovoltaics, you have many things that can be done, and because we are not infinite number of people and resources, we have to focus. And so this program helps us to focus on the activities which have more chances from a technical, economical, life cycle analysis, all these aspects which are important if you want to develop a technology for the energy world. Then we have programs which are to develop technologies. Mainly, we are working on 2 technologies which we think are the next generation is tandem solar cells, perovskite to silicon, and 3,5 of silicon. We have all this is supported by a platform, 3,000 square meters of clean rooms, equipment, which allow to characterize the materials, to model them, and maybe the critical word here is reliability. We are going to talk about devices which have to work 40 years. So if it's perovskite, fine, but they have to live 40 years outdoor. And then we have looking for the future. So it's sort of 2 fields. It's a way to store solar energy, and also exploring new concepts. We know that solar energy, if you go from the thermodynamics, you can go to 80% efficiency. So how we cross the gap between current efficiencies, record efficiency today is 47%, between 47 and 80, how you go. Okay. So that's everything which is done. I would say 80% of the effort is here. And we have 20% which is more exploratory long-term activity. The objective is we have this model 30-30-30. We want to reach 30% efficiency modules transferred to industry in 2030 at a cost of 20 to 25 euros per watt peak, 30 years of lifetime. That's the objective. You want to have something which is competitive. Okay.
So the 30 is more than that.
It's 30% efficiency, which is, I mean, So I said already there are products at 47, but it's 30% at this cost with lifetime, and you have to have the three on the same product.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the game.
That 47% efficiency is on tandem solar cells?
Well, if you want to go 30%, it has to be tandem.
No, 47. You mentioned a 47.
47 is the multi-junction. It's four or five junctions, 3-5. So that's what you can use on satellites, but it's 100 times too expensive. So that's why we are developing plasma CVD for low cost 3-5 epitaxy. We have to reduce the cost by a factor of, okay, 10 to start, 50, 100. Those are the numbers. If you decrease by a factor of 10, then you open new markets. You think about the vehicle, integrated photovoltaics, drones, applications where you don't have enough space, then efficiency matters and we can give a premium. Okay. So the context is it's our planet, which is turning today thanks to fossil fuels. Earth is, oh, it's just a metaphor. But if we work today, if we can go around, it's because we are burning some fossil fuels. And this burning of fossil fuels, we know it has consequences on CO2 emissions. And this has these CO2 emissions. The question is whether we can keep the rise of temperature at 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial era. And I guess today the answer is not. I think we are already past this, but it doesn't mean that we have to stop efforts. We have the population which has reached 8 billion. 1 terawatt was installed in 2022, and maybe thanks to the war in Ukraine, thanks to COVID and China, at least in Europe, governments are starting to realize that we cannot depend on importing everything from China or from Ukraine or from Russia. So independence in terms of energy is that we have to find ways to produce renewable energy. Uruguay is very strong on wind. Yes. Right? And today, I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk about photovoltaics, but because I think it's also something that, at least at the world level, will make it.
We have a few solar plants also.
Yeah. In fact, so this is one. I just took a look before coming. And in fact, congratulations. I mean, you are the first country in the world in renewable energy.
In electricity.
Electricity, yeah. Yeah, but okay, I mean, already I wish France was at that level. Okay. Or it's very mean, but so well. And then I moved to the what this energy was produced is hydro. We have a lot of dams, we have a lot of wind, we have burning wood, and you have a little bit of solar, but it's really tiny. The solar is tiny part. But still, I mean, I can say I have been in the country with the world leader in renewable energies. That's this I will say when I come back to the institute. Okay. Then if you look to the solar energy, you know it's everywhere. You have a lot of solar energy in Uruguay. Argentina is popping up like crazy. The basis is the solar spectrum. I think everybody is familiar with this. The sun sends us about 1 kilowatt per meter. The problem is that it's spectrally distributed in energy, wavelength, and we want to catch the maximum of this energy. For that, we use a solar cell. It's a wonderful device. It's a junction, and it's stopping. One way to do it is to p-type and type. You make a p junction, and by doing that, you are able to separate the generated photocarriers electrons on the n side, also the p side. If you put complex, the job is done. And I think it's really it's a wonderful machine. No moving parts, very robust, generated silicon, one half time, and it's modular. Okay, which means that it's like a Lego system. You don't need to start by building a 1 gigawatt factor power plant. You can start with one cell. You can make so it makes few watts. You can make kilowatts. You can make gigawatts. You can make kilowatts. But it's incremental, so it's easy to grow. You can start small. And then from that, so you get your so from the module or from the cell, you get its characteristics. You measure the short circuit current, or the voltage, the factor, and this gives you the power conversion efficiency. So this is how much power I am getting here. This device with respect to this incident power. And it's always normalized to the solar spectrum AM1.5, if we want to compare. So that's I would say the basics. If I go to a little bit of trends, so this is 2004. I was finishing my PhD somewhere here. So it was nothing. I mean, the PV production in the world was 50 megawatt. Doesn't count. But Japan started to put it in tariff, to put politics, and it's something which is important. I will say, if we want to develop a technology, we need research, we need industry, and we need politics. At the end, it's political decision which make the difference. If China is the leader today, it's because Chinese government decided. If France is good on nuclear energy, it's because they all decided to go into nuclear energy. If you are, if you have, I don't know, dams, because sometimes someone said, now we put infrastructure. We need to put infrastructure, and that very often comes to a political decision. Okay, so let's go back to science. But so this is the growth, and of course at that time in 2004, the objective of the objective was 4% of electricity by 2030, and PV is a domain where the growth has always been much stronger than anybody has forecast. The reality goes much faster than what the International Energy Agency, the governments, everybody says. It will go like this, it goes faster. And if you find another technology which has an annual growth rate of 30%, please let me know. And it has been from, 2000, 2004, and then you can go on to 2022. And it goes on, goes growing. We were at a scale of megawatts. Now we are at a scale of gigawatts. So we have increased by a factor of 1,000 in 2 decades, 1 decade and a half. And we have hit now in 2022 the terawatt level of PV, installed PV around the world. And this increase goes with the decrease of cost, so decrease of production. There is a learning curve for the cost. The cost decreases by 20% each time that the shipments, the production doubles. So we started with very, very expensive modules, which were for satellites, for applications where money doesn't count, I would say, to today costs which are below around 2 cents per watt peak of the solar cell. So a solar cell of 1 watt would cost 2 cents. And this allows to the, so we have cost of PV electricity, which has been divided by 4 in the past 4 years. The consumers start to become producers. You see, you install the photovoltaic in your roof and you consume the energy that you produce. And so it's a dynamic industry with a still strong potential for progress. We have said 1 terawatt in 22. What matters at the end is how much cost, what's the cost of PV electricity. And what you have in this map here around the world, the power purchase agreement means if I want to build a solar farm, at which price I will be able to sell the electricity that I produce. So this is guaranteed for the next 30 years. And these power purchase agreements, 2015, 2016, you see, I just take Chile. In 2015, it was $85.29 per megawatt. And 1 year later was 29. So it's going down. This is 2016. And now today in 2022, if you take the global around the world, the cost, the levelized cost of electricity, the electricity that you produce with the solar modules, it's below 5 cents per kilowatt hour. So this is competitive with any other source of energy everywhere around the world. And that's why you see more and more industries, companies, governments putting PV, because even in Saudi Arabia, countries which have oil, Algeria, for example, they start to produce electricity by PV because for them it's more interesting to preserve the oil than to burn it to produce electricity. They have other ways, more efficient way to produce electricity. How you make solar? I have to. So how you make solar cells? How has this been done? It's, as I said before, we have many choices, and this is the NRL chart of efficiency as a function of time. And you see that this started in the 50s, 70s, and we have crystalline silicon in the wool. This is technology which has been growing, and today it's reaching 26.8% conversion efficiency for a single junction crystalline cell. We have mentioned the 47% here for the quadruple junction cells, six junction under concentration. So this is too expensive. And we have the thin films. So I will spend 5 minutes on crystalline silicon and thin films. Okay, no way to show everything. But if you go to the market today, it's you see, when I was doing my thesis, thin films were taking more and more parts of the market, and the forecast was that crystalline silicon would disappear and thin films would take over everything. Well, the reality is not like this. Why is that? So why the hell crystalline silicon is 90% of the market today? I don't know. Okay, I don't know, but I have an idea. My idea is that this crystalline silicon technology is extremely robust, easy to scale up. You make crystalline silicon pure, you make ingots, you make wafers, and then from these wafers, you go to diffuse. This is p-type. You diffuse phosphorus, you make a p-n junction. You do a plasma etching on the side. You do a silicon nitride with the texture coating. You do a contact filing. And yes, it's something which is robust, easy to scale up, and it's produced like in France they say petit pain. You make us as Spanish, no? Como impresora. So that's the if PV. If this worked out so good, because it's not so many steps, it's a robot. It's not the best material for PV. P5 direct bang up. Silicon is not the best material, but it had microelectronics behind. It's robust, easy to scale up, and it makes a difference. And now this aluminum BSF. So I didn't mention the way it's done is you have the crystalline silicon, which is thin wafer. You make the end-type junction on the front. You put the reflection coating. You put the end contact, which is silver. You put on the back aluminum. And during the final step, this contact goes to the silicon nitride, and you have diffusion of the back, and aluminum makes a P+, it makes a back surface field, which reduces the combination of the electrons into one side. See, it's too easy, very easy. And so it's simple technology, not so many steps, easy to reproduce, and strong productivity. And then you go, and that's how you go from megawatts to gigawatts in 10 years. The next industrial generation is what is called passivated emitted rear contact cells. And this is something which was at that scale. It was developed by Martin Green, University of New South Wales in the 90s. It took 25 years to bring it to industrial, because this aluminum BSF is wonderful, but the efficiency here is limited at 20%, because you still, even if you have aluminum in the back and you have a combination. So you have losses. If you want to reduce that, you have to passivate. You have to put the material which reduces the recombination, and you have local contacts. Open with a laser, locally, the contacts on the back, so you reduce the surface where you can have recombination, which means losses of current voltage per factor. This is the passivated emitted rear contact. There have been other technologies like heterojunction and tunnel oxide. Tunnel oxide is the same. It was discovered in the 85, 86. So the idea is that to avoid recombination, you put silicon oxide. Silicon oxide is the reason for microelectronics being silicons. Microelectronics, silicon oxide provides a perfect passivation of the crystalline silicon wafer. Now the game is, okay, I can have surface passivation, but I want to have electrons going through. So you have to have be able to control a very thin oxide layer to have tunnel effect. And this is what this has taken, again, 20 years to optimize this 1.2 nanometer silicon oxide layer, which allows to provide the passivation, and then you have clear polysilicon or whatever, P++ or M++ contact to act as a selective contact for electrons or photons. So that's what is coming up. Heterojunction, I will come to that in the next minutes. It's crystalline wafer, and you deposit intrinsic amount of silicon and type, intrinsic type. So it's the game here is that you can go to low temperature instead of making a junction by. Tengo que usar el láser o no? Porque no sé si la gente. Ok, para ellos pueden intentar el láser, pero no quiero.
La cámara te está filmando también a la presentación.
Ok,
Entonces sí que sí.
poner aquí. So for the PN junction, you need high temperature process. And if we have high temperature process with aluminum, the difference in thermal expansion coefficient makes that the cells break if the wafers are thin. Using a low temperature process, for silicon passivation layers, like then you allow to work with thin wafers with electrons, and which you can blend. Okay, so it's you reduce the material, you make it flexible, and that's the next, I would say, the next generation of one of the next generation of crystalline silicon solar cell. And the optimum would be to make interdigitated back contact, which means that here, when most of the cells that you see everywhere, they have contacts on the front and on the back. And of course, if you have contacts here, you have all reflection losses. From the optical point of view, is not the best because you have when you have the fingers, the light doesn't go through, so you have optical losses there. Ideally, what you would like to do is to have the P-N+ and P+ contacts on the back of the cell, nothing on the front. And that's what SunPower developed in the 80s. Yes.
The silicon oxide should be texturally oriented the silicon.
No, this is a passivation layer. It's not a pentaxial. It's not even crystalline. Not even, it's amorphous. Yeah. It plays a role of passivation layer. And so by using these heterojunctions, so we're doing amorphous silicon here. And here I'm using P+ contacts. They got these record efficiencies. And the last, so this is November 19th, so it was last Friday. Came out with the 26.81%. So they're extremely happy. They say, wow, we went from 26.78, it was the biggest report, 26.8. Do you care? They care. If you are a businessman and you are dealing with terawatts, 10 to the 14, 10 to the 14 times 0.1 makes a difference. So when you are with big numbers, any small nanogram of silver, if you can save 1 nanogram of silver per cell, you gain. If not, it's the competitor who gains. Okay, so just keep in mind.
It's such a small factor.
Yeah,
It's not dominated by many other, I don't know, industrial conditions or installation processes.
No, they keep progressing with the same, and it's using. Of course, it's not just the efficiency; it's the efficiency and how you make it, the process, and the cost. But yes, I mean, those companies are using industrial processes, and that's how they are taking the market, the world market.
And if there is no great price to pay.
Not really. So it's from this to this, no, it's a technology. There's no extra price, and in fact, the game today, or the game from aluminum back surface field to this, has been to simplify the process. If this one was started by SunPower in the United States, they were using lithography. It's insane. It will never work in industry. But then engineers came up and find solutions to make to get rid of lithography, or to make this. First, these contacts are interdigitated, and the distance, this space, it should be of the order of the diffusion length of carriers in the crystalline silicon, hundreds of microns. Okay.
Without lithography.
Without lithography. There are mechanical shadowing. In the lab, we are using plasma processors, which you can do localize deposition. There are different approaches. So here we are. So what is the roadmap? Aluminum back surface field. This is what allows the industry to take the growth from 100 megawatt to gigawatts. But this technology is over. Aluminum back surface field is over. Now we have passivated contact solar cell. And this will go on. And you see that something is coming up. It's a heterojunction. The heterojunction is coming here, and back contact maybe takes time. Okay, so between the records and the industrial, still takes time. And yeah. And what's coming up, or the booming now, this was presented at Milano last September. It's this in the World Conference. It's that now they are building. Is a market goes so fast is because they start to build more and more integrated gigafactories. So a factory to produce crystalline solar cells, or something like this, it's 500 million investment. It's 100,000 square meters. You produce the glass, you produce the crystalline silicon, you make the ingots, you make the cells, and you make the modules. So here you have silicon coming in and modules coming out. And what is amazing, I couldn't believe it, is that this was built during the pandemic. By this company, and they did it in 1 year. In France would be impossible, but this was in Turkey. In Turkey, there was desert, and they put all this in 1 year. 1 gigawatt factory came out with a research center, of course, with 6 students coming in. And another important thing is why China is leading. Producing in China is less expensive. No. That's what Chinese would like you to think. It's not. I mean, these studies where there were few companies showing these numbers. Production in the euro dollar cents per watt peak. Okay. You see that in India is 19.9, in China is 18.9, but then you have transport to around the world is 21. European Union is 21. It's 22 cents more, but it's in a 5% difference around the world. And in fact, what counts here, the major cost difference comes from electricity. The energy you need to power this thing. You need power, a lot of power to make it turn. So one is how you produce this electricity, and how much does the electricity cost. You need water, you need labor, and capital. So that's the and so in fact the idea is in France, at least in Europe, the European Union is pushing to bring back gigafactories in Europe, rather than having modules or cells going across the world. So it's crystalline silicon. C'est fini. It's done, right? I mean, once I have said this, gigafactories, crystalline silicon, it is forever. Well, I am coming from thin films, so I have been spending thin films, crystalline silicon, and when you look to the full value chain, you start with quartz, has to be pure. You want to purify this silicon to make metallurgical grade silicon. Then you distillate using HCl to make trichlorosilane. If this trichlorosilane is distillated, you use Siemens process to make polycrystalline. Then you make the ingot from the polycrystalline, and the ingot to make the wafers, and wafer make the cells. And you see that on all these steps, you need a lot of material. Crystalline cell is 160 microns today. So you need material, high purity, and you need a lot of energy to make all this. So it works, and you produce electricity levelized cost at 5 cents per kilowatt hour. C'est génial. It's maravilloso. Wonderful. I don't know. Still, you can do better. That's why we have thin films. So thin films are here. It's the green one. And you have this one. This is the perovskites, which are doing as better than traditional thin films. Okay. So I will not talk about perovskites, but the idea behind is the same. If I want to make silicon thin film, so what we are saying is that you start with the metallurgical grade, you have all the steps, and you end up with module. Can you get rid of all these energy consuming steps? And of course, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, because you can use silane to deposit the silicon thin film and make the module right away. So that's the way it works. We go to the plasma stability. So that's where I did my PhD and I spent my life. Two parallel plates, you feed silane or germane or dopants, whatever. You make the plasma, means that you have collisions between electrons and the molecules. You make reactive species. These reactive species condense on the substrate, and you make a thin film. And if you are at low temperature, 200 degrees, most likely you're going to make a disordered semiconductor, amorphous silicon. But this can be done on large areas, 6 square meters of roll to roll. So it's flat panel. This is flat panel displays which come from this. I mean, here you have an array of TFTs made of silicon. You can, and then you can go from amorphous to polymorphous to microcrystalline. You can make crystalline silicon here at this temperature. You can make alloys, you make nanowires. I mean, the more you look inside, the more time you spend, the more things you realize that are possible in this, using this system. If you want to make a solar cell, what you do is you start with a glass substrate in oxide. So that would be the same for a perovskite, glass video. But now instead of the perovskite, we are going to put the P-type of amorphous silicon. So we have silane and 3-methyl boron plasma. And you just have a silane plasma, you have a little bit of phosphine, put the context, and that's your PIN solar cell, where you have made the built-in field in the P-type and the N-type contact. And when you put line, you generate electrical pairs, and the electric field removes the electrons on one side and the holes on the other side. So you can view these as the space charge region in the PN junction. The PN junction, you have a space charge region, and then you have 100 microns, 200 microns of gold material. So we don't have them here, but it's a thin film, and which has a higher absorption coefficient. So even if the layer is thin, it can still absorb the light. So optics is important. And then you make separation, and then you make efficiency, and that's the cross section. So this is my PIN, and when I want to go efficiency, so it's limited to 10%. I could go say that we can make tandem steeples. Okay, you probably could go with a lot of effort to 20%, but not 26. So then we go. So here I can start from the thin fields to radial junction. So now I will go to last part of radial junctions, 5 minutes. How you make a radial junction? Maybe why you want to make a radial junction? If you make a thin film, if I want to have absorption, what I should do? Should I make the layer thicker? If I make the layer thicker, the electric field increases. So I have more collection. So I have a trade-off between absorption and carrier collection. The radial junction is I think, the most elegant way to solve this problem, because okay, that's what I was saying. Here you have to make it thicker. Here, this device is optically thick. You can make another wire micron long, and the collection is along the radius. So it's electrically is thin. It's divided in 100 nanometers in diameter. So you have a strong field which strips up the electrons and holes and prevents recombination. So you use less material, and you can make a device which is efficient. And that's what we have been doing for a few years in the lab, using same reactor, using metal catalyst drops. So we have the glass, zinc oxide, thin layer evaporated, then with a hydrogen plasma, with a hydrogen plasma. With a hydrogen plasma, you can reduce this thin layer to make it into drops, liquid at 230 degrees. Then you switch from hydrogen to silane hydrogen, you start to produce radicals, which are absorbed in the silicon, the metal tin. And from that, you are going to go vertical crystalline silicon nanowire. That's called liquid solid process. And the thing is that when we started this, okay, if you look BLS growth of nanowires, 90% of the papers are using gold, because gold has a high surface tension and it forms a drop. If you don't have a drop, if this flattens out, you will not grow a wire. You will grow a pizza, a pancake, or whatever, but not a wire. So you have to have a high surface tension. And but we wanted to be at low temperature. We started with thin, bismuth. So thin doesn't introduce the defects. Bismuth is entire. In gallium can introduce p-type doping in the nanowire. And so those are like all melting point metals. And the issue here is that this level C came up with a criterion saying that if your metal has a surface tension which is below 0.8 value, then this drop, instead of its surface tension is not strong enough, the surface energy will win and you will make pancake pizza. Still, so it should not work. And we love things which doesn't work with this research. If it doesn't work, then you have something fun to look for, right? Why does it? And okay, we do experiments. I mean, I am a stubborn experimentalist. Sorry. So I try, and I grow wires. So why do they grow? It grows because I am in a plasma environment. I have atomic hydrogen. And this atomic hydrogen can increase the surface energy here, or can decrease the surface energy by hydrogen passivating the surface of the growing of the substrate. And this is something that we could check using in situ TM. So we have, please come to the lab. This is again making advertising, okay? Come to the lab and you will see this TM microscope, which is equipped with sources of gallium, arsenic, and atomic hydrogen. And if I have atomic hydrogen, what I can do is I can grow a silicon nanowire, and I can do it under video C. Okay, so you can make the video, you can watch in real time how the nanowire is growing as you are putting silicon and hydrogen atoms in the system. Okay, so what happened here? I have to start again, I guess. So at the beginning, we have a plasma power of 10 watts. We have atomic hydrogen, the drop stays on top. If the plasma power goes down, we have less atomic hydrogen. The hydrogen at 250 degrees drops from the surface energy of the substrate, the crystalline silicon increases, and the drop falls down. Drop is over. So just to show, because it's a function of power, we have 10 watts, everything looks nice. You increase still, but then you see that it starts to flow. The surface tension wins. The surface energy here wins and makes the input fall down. And it's not that it falls, it's that if the wire was like this, it would have been the same. It's the surface energy. So we have growth, and so it took time to get the result. In the meantime, we knew that we can grow nanowires, as explained before, by putting this thin layer, exposing to the hydrogen plasma to form the drops, moving to silent hydrogen TMB to make a p-type nanowire, 40 nanometers in diameter, then covering this nanowire in a silent plasma with intrinsic amorphous silicon. You have a conformal coverage of this device, and at the end you put the N layer, so you put a little bit of phosphine, and end up by putting ITO to have the top contact. And so this is one nanowire in one calm down process. It's something which is simple. You don't need it looks like many steps, it's just computer controlled. That's and it works. It took 3 PhD students in a row. Yeah, no. It's always once it's done, it's easy. But to arrive there, it takes time and effort. Yeah.
The choice of theme, other reasons than surface tension. Why don't you use lead? Maybe cheaper.
Lead. I don't know what let's go back. Lead is here. It's even worse than in terms of surface energy. So it will be more difficult to form. And then I must admit, tengo que confesar. Oh, this was by accident. Come on. Of course, I mean, during my PhD, we were doing solar cells and on tin oxide, and we wanted to avoid the tin oxide reduction, because if you reduce it, you have the substrate I have to go back here. If you reduce the tin oxide, you're going to form metal tin. And if you form metal tin, you can have defects here. And if you have defects, you reduce the efficiency of your flow cell. So we spent like 10 years trying to go from tin oxide to zinc oxide to avoid tin oxide reduction, to avoid metallic tin. And then once one time happened, oh, we have something popping up. What's going on? Okay, you say I threw it away. This is not what I want. And so this is, sorry, I know it's for the students. The garbage is full of failed experiments, which could be extremely useful. And this is an example. Yeah.
In the team, the end of the lab, there are people who say that they can make nanowires spontaneous, that they grow.
Yeah.
How presented that?
Yeah.
Well, it's not easier. I mean, it's another material.
No, pues no, pero sí. The first time that we illuminating in 20 hours with the solar
Yeah.
we changed from nanoparticles to nanorods.
It's wonderful. So now we have to understand what's going on and can you make it? Yeah. So it's either if you're not looking when I do research, you want to be careful. Los ojos abiertos, no sé cómo se dice. You want to be eyes wide open because things which are unexpected can be interesting. So that was the case of this silicon nanowires. And we started with the question was why we choose low melting, because we are at low temperature. I mean, it's gold is about 400 degrees. People use gold, iron, metals which you need 1,000 degrees. I mean, I cannot afford 1,000. It's interesting, but it's if I want to do something on glass, low cost, maybe it's not a good way. So we focused on tin, which it doesn't introduce, besides gold, it introduces defects in silicon. So definitely it's good for understanding things, but for practical applications, we will be more difficult. And then, so that's why we use gallium indium, which are in the low temperature. That could work, but it will be more difficult to keep it stable. Okay. And in fact, what we discovered, and then we can spend more time, we combine copper and tin because copper can fix and gather the, if you have a bimetallic, if you have a bimetallic catalyst, you can have something which is solid and then it will prevent the tin to spread away. So, so we have the nanowire solar cells, simple process, and then, okay, it's very small bonito. The reality is that you have 100 millions per square centimeters. Oh, I wish they were here. It's 100 millions per square. Yeah. and they have to work all. You don't. Okay. So the question is, what happens if one of these wires is broken? You have a shunt or not? My feeling is that I have statistically, I'm sure that in this device there are still some broken wires. The device works. At the beginning, the cells were like it. So the first PhD student was having, I mean, okay, you have something which is working, I would say perfectly with a good fill factor, efficiency, current, VOC, and this is the size of the device that we are making with 100 million wires per square centimeter. And then once you have done a single junction, you can make a tandem. So you can have a PIN and then a second PIN and then a third PIN. And with that, you have a triple junction. So the single goes like this. If you make tandem, you divide the current by 2, increase the voltage. If you make triple, you still divide by 2, and you are getting higher voltage, and we developed that for water splitting to have high voltage solar cell.
Every junction there are the same. I mean, you use multiple layers of the same materials. Or
Everything is a more pure silicon. It's
okay,
I didn't put
three cells from the same material.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Okay? It's not what I would how to say.
You reduce the current.
Such thing is, if you bet about the chances of having a working device, most people will say chances are 0. And then imagine that you want to do the first layer with a wall backup, like a crystal in silicon, intermediate backup, with germanium. So you can do it can be done. But the student who was doing this just took the recipe was working for the silicon, and he just changed the thickness of the layers. So in fact, this layer here, maybe the PIN top is 40 nanometers. It's for the beauty. Summary. So sorry, it's what I wanted to finish saying is PV energy. Okay, solar energy, and PV solar energy is one of the less expensive energy. Okay, lo puse en español, es para usted. Es una de las menos caras. ¿Comprendes algo? Do you understand something in Spanish?
Yeah, read the Spanish.
Okay, so voy a decir la conclusión en español. Al menos. Es una de las menos caras actualmente. La potencia acumulada a nivel mundial llegó al teravatio y la previsión es que en 2030 se va a producir 1 teravatio cada año. O sea, me he pasado 20 años para conseguir 1 teravatio instalado, en 2030 será 1 teravatio. Esto es como las fábricas que he mostrado, es gigafactorías. El silicio cristalino tiene vida para adelante, para muchos años, seguro, pero y esto porque la instalación de factorías se acelera con países, y los países con recursos eléctricos y agua son competitivos para instalar estas gigafactorías. Y si miramos a más largo, esto es una historia que no se acaba, ¿no? Es un maratón, pues es una carrera de fondo. Lo que pasa es que con el precio del kilovatio o del kilovatio fotovoltaico bajando, las aplicaciones aumentan. Lo que se ve mucho en Europa es el agrifotovoltaics. Combinar fotovoltaico y agricultura. Yo pienso en mi jardín, tengo que hacerlo porque este verano mis tomates se cocieron. Se subió a 38 o 40 grados, se queman. Las plantas no aguantan. Si los había puesto un techo fotovoltaico, habría producido electricidad y tomates. Agricultura, el building y los vehículos. Los vehículos necesitamos aumentar el rendimiento y para las células 3.5, materiales de 3.5, con alto rendimiento, porque tienes poca superficie, pero vamos para ver, el mundo va para los vehículos eléctricos.
La superficie de un auto para producir energía necesaria.
No con celdas comunes, pero tándem.
Buena pregunta. Lo que hemos estado discutiendo con fabricantes de coches y lo que decían, yo tenía en mind, es puedes alargar la autonomía de 10% del coche. Y luego, si vas al 3.5 alto rendimiento, objetivo en Europa, el Strategic Energy Set Plan para el ejecución de la energía es alargar a 40%, cubrir 40% de la necesidad del vehículo con un techo fotovoltaico. Y de todas formas, el coche, ¿qué tiene? El coche tiene batería ya. La batería eléctrica la utilizas para estocar la energía que produces. O sea, para mí seguro que va a haber. I'm sure that it will develop. This is one of the strongest research access in Japan. But they are doing a lot of money on this. O sea, la respuesta es...
Si no es tiempo real, pero si uno le deja apartado y está cargando, mejorado.
No.
No carga en tiempo real, pero sí carga la batería.
La idea es que, como el coste va bajando, toda superficie la podrás cubrir con fotovoltaico. O sea, El fotovoltaico bien, será una comodidad. No sé si tienes español. Es algo que no, o tienes o pones y ya no te preocupas. Funciona y si tu techo te hace de techo y te produce electricidad, pues es un buen. Y luego, si pensamos en más tiempo, la capa fina va a venir. La próxima revolución, desafortunadamente, no creo que sea el silicio amorfo, mi carrera, pero las perovskitas, si resolvemos los problemas de estabilidad y de esquema, porque, bueno, 25% por un metro cuadrado, pero empezamos en el IPVF, hacemos módulos de 20 centímetros cuadrados a 16%. Luego estos módulos tienen que durar 30 años. O sea, si conseguimos resolver estabilidad y esquema, el silicio cristalino se acabará. O sea, no será competitivo. Pero esto estamos hablando de 10 años. Entre tanto, el silicio cristalino nos puede salvar del cambio climático. Más adelante, porque también nos está desarrollando ahora el reciclaje, recycling of materials, un teravatio instalado se tiene que reciclar, las baterías, el estocaje y los sistemas eléctricos. And then,
Es un poco fuera del tema. Así que el programa de la versión puede empezar a la pregunta. Normalmente cuando uno trata de hacer crecimiento, digamos, nanohilos o lo que sea, uno aprovecha una dirección cristalina de experiencia o para el sustrato, etc. Eso me llama mucho la atención y me gustaría entender cuál es el mecanismo, aparte de la selección superficial, aparte de la única selección. Es que puede crecer tipo aguja.
Lo que crece está, o sea, el diámetro del nanohilo está determinado por la talla de la gota catalizador. Y lo que precipita aquí es silicio cristalino. Lo que estamos creciendo no es silicio amorfo, es silicio cristalino. Y luego la orientación que va a adoptar dependerá del substrato. Si estás creciendo en el substrato 1-1-1, puedes tener un crecimiento epitaxial. Nosotros hacemos estas muestras, hacemos vídeos sobre óxido de estaño, entonces no hay ningún, es random. ¿Okay? Y o sea, lo que ves aquí,
No se observa ninguna.
no, o sea, crece así, esto es un hilo silicio cristalino, que puede ser dopado, y esto lo utilizamos en este tipo de células como hilo, como si fuera un hilo conductor, es como conductor. No hace no desempeña un rol de fotovoltaico. El efecto fotovoltaico está en la capa intrínseca del P y el D. O sea, estos hilos los utilizamos para producir un contacto que tiene una superficie enorme y que me permite de hacer la unión radial.
Como estructura. El hilo y el soporte.
Sí.
O sea que el corazón del nanohilo, digamos que
Sí, pero por la superficie. It's in play. Entonces, la conferencia de esta tarde vamos a hacer sobre los in play. Y puedes hacer electrónica planar con hilos de silicio cristalino que crecen sobre la superficie y que les puedes decir, o sea, al principio iban donde querían. Al principio los vimos por casualidad, luego iban donde querían, luego
cambiando de una propiedad para que la gota se mueva ahí.
la dibujas haciendo un poco de litografía sobre el sustrato. Pero entonces consigues hacer nanohilos de servicio cristalino de talla nanométrica con litografía óptica. No necesitas nano y beam litografía. Luego puedes, y sí, tengo un compañero que se fue de China, pero cuando estaba en el laboratorio soñaba, decía, soñaba porque decía, si yo soy capaz de hacer que mi gota se vaya por ahí y haga esto. Pues sí. Sí. O sea, our main limitation is here. And then the physics, of course. But many times we are limited by what we think we know. Estoy disfrutando. Con interferencias, con litografía, con reactive ion etching. Pues para decir, bueno, se pueden hacer cosas que...
Al efecto de la celda solar, ¿es conveniente tener los anillos muy arregladitos o el desorden de los anillos tiene una influencia? ¿Es mejor tenerlos paralelos o tenerlos algo así?
Ok, vamos a hacer una encuesta. Los que piensan que se tiene que ser ordenado, que levanten la mano. 1, 2, 3. Los que piensan que se puede quedar igual. 1, 2, los que no saben. 1, 2. Bueno, entonces, si haces modelo óptico, o de hecho un compañero hace modelo óptico modelo, lo que ves es que si son, o sea, y en el Instituto Fotovoltaico hacemos nanohilos de materiales 3,5 perfectos, ordenados, pero ópticamente, si está perfecto ordenado, siempre tienes un ángulo. Cuando miras la reflectividad de la luz, tendrás ángulos por los cuales hay reflexión. Tener ya estructuras desordenadas favorece la absorción.
¿No dificulta la construcción?
Esto es easy to...
Si un cierto nivel de desorden es favorable.
Es favorable. La respuesta es desde el punto de vista del modelo óptico es favorable. No, iluminando, bueno, es iluminando con luz de espectro solar. ¿No?
Sí. Vamos a tener diferentes ángulos de incidencia con fines de toda la iluminación.
Para el silicio, ese tipo de celda, ¿cuál es la reflectividad residual? Porque lo ideal sería absorción 100%.
No, es negro, es el 1%. Es black silicon, podría decir es black silicon. Pero bueno, el material el amorfo no es el mejor material para hacer automóvil.
El fill factor me parece la comercial.
El fill factor está bastante bien. El fill factor es 84. Si quieres ir a 29%, todo está en los detalles. Pero yo estoy muy contento con esto. Ok, entonces son...
Ay, gracias.
¿Cómo? ¿Voy a tomar una foto? ¿Pueden venir aquí? Yo quisiera tener una foto. Lo recuerdo. Quiero enviar la foto al Instituto Fotovoltaico para decirles que estoy en el país del mundo. Bueno, vamos a tapar esto.
Pensé que la foto era de eso.
Hay que liberar
No, una cosa que se tiene que ver es esto. Alrededor de tenemos esto así.
mucho con el dedo.
Sí, sí, antes. Voy a bajarle. Ahí va. Motor. Perfecto, gracias.
Pero no sé.